Welcome to Cold Hard Trash CRT episode 44. I'm your host, Trashcan Jones.
And I'm Breeeeeg, your fellow host.
So did you know that the Powerpuff Girls, before they had their syndication, were first pitched as the Whoop-Ass Girls?
No. I like that.
There is the Professor Plutonium was like a weird, like Weasley more of a guy too, and they just had like they accidentally added a can of whoop-ass to the concoction was the whole thing, and made the Whoop-Ass Girls.
Oh, that's really good. That explains the whole Chemical X thing.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
What is that? Whoop-ass.
It's a can of whoop-ass. They opened a can of whoop-ass on accident.
That's good.
And obviously, for, I guess, kids, I don't know why they tried to make it a kid's cartoon, or they tried to make it an adult's cartoon, because they were like, oh, yeah, we like that, but can you change the name? Like, well, they obviously didn't pitch it to Cartoon Network that way, so I wonder how Cartoon Network got their hands on it, or, like, caught wind of it.
Yeah, I mean, there were some weird shows on, like, earlier Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, and stuff like that. And by earlier, I mean, like, the stuff that ended up becoming Boomerang and Hanna-Barbera works and all that stuff. I know at least with Nickelodeon, like, Invader Zim was created by a guy who made a short, like, series of clips or cartoons or whatever called, like, Johnny the Genocidal Maniac.
Oh.
Or, like, Johnny the Murdering Butcher or something like that. And it's
Really?
an animation of this, like, butcher guy, I think cutting up a human body, and he, like, chops off his own thumb. And he's all animated, and he's like, oh, ow. You know, stuff like that.
What the hell? That's weird. I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he was, like, asked to help with making a show. I don't know if it was by Nickelodeon or someone that was trying to pitch show to what ended up being Nickelodeon. Yeah, so some crazy stuff behind some of these cartoons. I think a can of whoop-ass is a lot more. That's still pretty family-friendly. That's like Simpsons level.
Yeah, I guess it's like dropping a hell every now and again, but still, it's. I feel like ass just takes that other level, because hell, at least I guess ass you find in the Bible too, like old school, like you know,
donkey.
Right. I'm trying to think of like the old school wisdom of like you can't show that to kids, but like even like if you look at old PG movies, like they're different than what PG movies are today. Like they had different rules back then.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Another thing that's fun about the Powerpuff Girls is that there is, you know the band The Gorillas?
Yeah.
So you understand that they are the world's first completely animated band or something like that?
Yes.
Which wouldn't be true. I mean, we were just talking about Hanna-Barbera, but
I'm aware of their crossover.
Yeah, where they got Ace from the Gangrene Gang in the band for a little bit because their bassist was in jail.
Yeah, that's pretty great. It's literally just the guy from the Gangrene Gang.
Yeah. He's in like one scene in the music video, and like some guys are playing basketball, and then they throw the basketball, like, and he catches it, and then he takes out a switchblade and pops it. And goes, "Eh," and then everyone who's playing basketball gets mad at him.
Yeah, I mean, because he's a bad guy. You're supposed to get mad at the bad guy.
Yeah, but, like, he's popping a basketball on a basketball court. Like,
that's what the Gangrene Gang does. They're bad guys.
It's just kind of being a dick,
yeah.
right? Like,
that's pretty much all they do.
How much of a villain is that?
Oh,
yeah, I hate that dude. Like,
yeah. That's pretty much all you need to do. He's doing bad dude stuff.
Yeah, it's like minimal property damage. It's similar to a level of taking candy from a baby.
I'm pretty sure they literally do that. It's like that's how they get introduced, is them just taking candies from babies, and the Powerpuff Girls go and stop them. It's like part of their crime spree. I think it's either them or the Amoeba Boys try to take candy from a baby to like start their crime spree.
I definitely believe that it's in Powerpuff Girls at some point. Even better if it was actually the same guy from the Gangrene Gang.
I remember the most ridiculous villain from Powerpuff Girls was the woman that would rob banks, but for only their Susan B. Anthony silver dollars. And it's for something of like, I feel like women's rights or something. She was like doing it for. I forget her whole backstory, but like she would only rob banks specifically of those coins. And the people in the banks were like, "What? Why?" It's like it was such a weird thing.
That is a good villain. I like
that. It just made me laugh. Like that's what a weird like premise.
I forget the exact episode, but I love that picture of it's just like 3 like adult men in costumes of the Powerpuff Girls with the big like head thing on, like a mascot.
I forget if it was when they tried to like merchandise the Powerpuff Girls, or if someone was trying to like pose as the Powerpuff Girls and like smear their name, and the mayor couldn't tell who was who. Classic. Powerpuff Girls was a great show. I think we talked about it before. Like Major Glory in them, the Justice League of theirs, or the Avengers of theirs.
Yeah, well, that wasn't. I remember that mostly from Dexter's Lab.
They had a Powerpuff Girls crossover though too.
Well, I feel like it's entirely possible that these like different shows, they just have the same like, Cartoon Network and makes the Justice Friends or whatever as like a background thing for Dexter's Lab. They're probably made by the same animation studio, looking at how they're animated.
I remember seeing as a kid too, and there's the scenes of like sometimes when it'll go like a widespread of the town of all the people pointing and like, oh, at the monster. Sometimes you can see Dexter in the crowd.
Aw.
Right? Yeah. It's like, it's a little nod. Like, yeah, it is exactly what you're saying.
This is the original MCU.
Yeah.
It's like all these different shows are coming out, and it's like, whoa, they're all part of the same universe.
I'm pretty sure they would have just like straight OVA episodes where like an episode of Dexter's Lab would instead just be like a shorter episode or a shorter double episode of like Justice Friends. And same thing with the Powerpuff Girls. They would just have an episode of the Justice Friends instead of the Powerpuff Girls. And usually would do a thing of like, oh yeah, we're doing this, so we're not going to be, our normal superhero today or normal thing today. Like one of them, I think, is like Dexter's just literally says he's going to take the day off and like shower and rest. So like that's the day, like usually it's Agent Monkey, right? Those episodes where he goes and meets the Justice Friends in Dexter's Lab. Yeah. Because that's where he goes and meets Macho Man Randy Savage. I remember that episode. Love that so much. I ain't never seen a monkey with so much power.
It's just a cool way to fill out a time slot,
Yeah. Just like pad out the universe a little bit more.
And I think it says a little bit about how these things are like sold, like getting your show on the air and stuff like that. Because, I mean, you've watched Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, right?
Of course.
I'm pretty sure that started out as a separate, shorter series called Grim and Evil. And occasionally, you would get episodes within Billy and Mandy. I think it was mainly like during the first season.
Yeah.
Where it would be Evil Con Carne.
Yeah.
And I used to play a game on the Cartoon Network website where it was like Evil Con Carne is on one island, and there's like someone else on the other island. I forget exact who. But
was it General Scar? Was he the
General
other guy?
Scar, yeah.
Yeah, because I was gonna say they were the original like just characters of the show, and then they became like the background characters of Billy and Mandy. And then later on in the series, they got their own OVA episodes. I think like General Scar became their neighbor. And stuff.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
yeah, it was so cool. I completely forgot. You're exactly right. They did have shorts of like the bear and the brain and whatnot.
Yep.
That was so. Oh man, that's a blast from the past.
Yeah, I used to play a game on the Cartoon Network website where they each had an island, and you would just sort of hit buttons to like send missiles to each other. I don't really remember too much about it because like the way I'm describing it, it just sounds like you just keep on hitting the big button to shoot them, but there's other mechanics.
It sounds like Bowman or Territory Wars or something like that, where you just kind of like choose your angle, your power, and then fire or whatever like that. I don't know, I'm trying to think of like
I think so.
games.
And then I think the last thing that you unlock is a missile that can't miss. Because that's the main thing that I remember. It's a missile that goes up, and then the next turn, I think, it comes down like directly on top of them. But, yeah.
Cartoon Network Flash games were the pinnacle of existence back in the day. I remember there was... You ever play the Cartoon Network Resort? It was like all the Hanna-Barbera characters, and it was like basically this open world sort of RPG where you'd have to go around and do like a bunch of different side quests for everybody.
Yes.
There was like 4 versions of them. It was so cool. It was so cool seeing it evolve of like all the different Hanna-Barbera properties. Like the first one had IR Baboon and I Am Weasel and stuff like that, and like the later ones would have Dexter and the Powerpuff Girls, and eventually the what was that? The Total Drama people. That was wild.
So I remember there being a different plugin that wasn't Flash for a lot of those games. And Flash sort of won out between those. Like this one lost support like more than a decade ago, I'd say. And then Flash did within, more recent time frame. But I had an issue with that particular plugin on my computer at home that maybe like one of the second computers I had or something like that. And I do remember playing it, and I thought it was the dopest shit ever. And then, in my like early 20s, I was like, damn, I really want to play that again. And I tried to find it, and I could get into it, and then it would load all the way to full, and then it just wouldn't let me into the game.
Yeah, it's not supported anymore. I wonder if there's
it's
something
definitely not supported now. Like, I don't even think you could get that close to it.
Yeah.
But I did also see some links that were talking about rehosting it or something like that, so it would still be available. But I don't think I knew that much about computers and stuff, and like making sure that I could get the plugin, or like if I was going to download the wrong thing. Because when I was really young, I definitely downloaded a virus off of LimeWire.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, something that's like definitely like real HQ, all caps, whatever it has. Then it's just like you download it, it's like 10 megabytes. You're like, wait a minute. that seems like it was way too quick. A 10 megabyte.exe, do not open.
Dragonforce.exe.
Yeah.
Ooh, I have a special treat for one of our viewers.
Ooh, that came pretty good through.
Yeah.
Somebody specifically request that?
Opposite.
This was great. So, if you have like a thing of blueberries and just one of them is moldy, whole thing's fucked, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured.
So, it definitely is for bread.
Right, after one slice, it's just all.
Yeah, because when you see the mold, that's saying that it's already grown on the inside enough to produce the external spore producing part of the organism.
Right.
I've definitely not thrown out a whole thing just because like a single fruit had mold on it. But it's one of those things where it's like I feel like I should.
Yeah,
but at the
I
same
don't risk
time,
that.
It's never gotten me sick. I'm not recommending this. If you get hurt doing this, it's not because of this. I don't want you to do that. But I have before.
Yeah, well, fair. I do not risk it. I figure if one is moldy, like you said, if it's been touching all the other ones, it's probably spread to it. The spores are existing all throughout. It's probably at least a little bit. You probably can go through with eating a little bit of mold and not die, but why even try to eat a little bit of mold?
So, I mean, first off, wash it, because, like, the thing is if you see the, mold on the outside of the berry, that means that it's been growing in there for a while, yes. But that mold on the outside is the spore-releasing part of the mold. So it is entirely possible for a single berry to have that mold, like, growing in it from when it was picked or whatever. And by the time it gets to you, it's just starting to send off spores that would not have started growing in the other berries at that point. It would just be on the surface.
But how equally likely is it that it has been in there for long enough to start?
Don't do this.
That's what I'm saying. You're just you're saying, what if?
I'm saying I'm just trying to justify the fact that I didn't get sick, right? Like, how else did that happen? Well,
you can eat a little bit of mold and not die. That's how it can happen. You got lucky.
Yeah, I got lucky. What is the lucky chain of events that led me there? And I'm spitballing here.
Could be. Could have been.
Don't do it. I'm not liable. If you do, I am not a professional. And it was a bad decision. Stay away from mold.
So last time we recorded, afterwards we went out to Olive Garden and we experienced some of the most relentless breadsticks I think I've ever experienced at an Olive Garden. As soon as like one of them was gone, that guy was like a shark, just like, you breadstick? I'll get him right up for you.
Yeah, everyone take one from there.
Yeah, he came up
I
and
can
was like,
take the basket away.
Take one now so I can take the basket and then I will bring you more. I was like, okay. He's like pressuring us into eating breadsticks.
Yeah, they have to rename it from endless breadsticks to relentless breadsticks.
He just keeps throwing them. He's like, you're gonna get full. You're not gonna eat any of your food. You're gonna take it all home. It was ridiculous. It was good though. I ate every single one of those breadsticks. Salty, buttery.
You know what? It's probably to turn tables quicker.
Probably, yeah. If you just fill up on bread, see you later.
Yeah, and they're already in the business of take out meals and stuff like that. That's
right.
a pretty big part of what they're doing. They had that one section on the menu that was like, just before you go, you can just order a dish to go, and
just had
it's
one
$7.
to go. Yeah, that's wild.
Which is not a bad deal, You're at Olive Garden, want to get lunch for tomorrow, which is what I did with my leftovers because I was full of breadsticks.
Mm.
But it is also pretty nice because, like, at the end, we just asked for, like, can we get, like, 2 extra soups?
Because you were endless soup, so if you were to not get the bill and then just say, hey, give me another soup, eat the soup, and then get the bill and leave, it's the same thing as just getting the soup, not eating it, then getting the bill and leaving. It's the same thing. You're getting the soup, but it doesn't matter if you eat it there or if you're just like, oh, I can't finish this and take it home.
Yeah. I honestly, it just surprised me. Like, it makes sense, but it feels like something that they probably dealt with in the past. Like, one server just being like, no, I mean, you're ordering, like, the endless thing for here. And I'm sure there's other places with endless food where they have, a lot of places with endless food have policies about waste at the end.
Makes sense, yeah.
And
especially
they don't let you carry out.
KBBQ places often have that. Like, if you have meat left over, you can't take it home type shit.
But, they just factor it in, You paid for the endless soup, and they just know they're not going to argue about it. Yeah. I've never left an Olive Garden without an entire fresh thing of breadsticks. They always give me one.
I mean,
before I go.
Because that's their whole thing. It's probably the cheapest thing for them. They probably make, like, I don't know. Would it be that they make the most money or that they have the thinnest profit margin on it? Like, what is the reason that they just do not care to give out bread?
I mean, I think it's probably just cheap.
Right? And it just must be that they really don't care. Like, must be such a thin profit margin that even if it dips into the loss, they don't care.
Yeah, well, restaurants do have certain items on the menu called loss leaders, which is you tend to lose money on having this product on the menu whenever someone orders it.
Right.
It could end up being like a really expensive thing. Like, that's at least how I saw it. Getting like a special, like, rare type of fish or something for, like, there's a Greek place that I worked at, and it was like some special fish or octopus thing on the menu that was decent, like, pretty expensive. And even then, like, getting the ingredients for it is even more expensive than that. But if they're trying to be an authentic place, they're going to put that on the menu. Right. And very few people are going to order that, but by having it on the menu, it gives a real authentic air, and it intrigues people into coming to the restaurant in the first place.
I guess, but, like,
the breadsticks is, like, a different approach to that.
But with something like you're saying, do they, like, advertise that it's on the menu? Because how are you going to know it's on there unless you're already in the door?
I mean, if you're trying to get, like, a guy that knows his stuff, maybe an immigrant who still, was eating the food directly from Greece like a month ago, and they see that on the menu, they might not order it, but it says that you're business, we're the real deal here. We have
I see.
These very specific items.
I get you. So it's just something like to prove of their seriousness, basically, of, like, commitment to the menu or the restaurant.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And plenty of places do this. There's the dumpling place near me, which I'm still trying to get us to go to, that basically they have a certain menu item that is only written in Chinese.
Oh. And it's for just to make sure, like, people who are in Chinese speaking in the area know, like, oh, this is the good shit?
No. I don't know exactly why, but it's only in Chinese. It's, like, taped on with, like, white tape or painter's tape or something like that, and then they wrote it down. And I just asked them, like, hey, what is this? It's, like, $5 more than the next, like, most expensive set of dumplings.
Right.
And, like, all the rest of them were, like, 15, say, and then, like, this one was 20. And it was, like, smoked Spanish mackerel, or maybe not smoked, but, like, Spanish mackerel and, like, some other thing. And it was $5 more than everything else. But I see that, and I'm like, yeah, I think they know their stuff. Whether or not that's the reason for putting it on there.
So you're just baffled by it, like, oh, it seems fancy, so
yeah.
They wrote it in the fancy language, so it must be fancy.
Exactly. I don't understand what this is. It must be cool.
It's literally like you find those girls with, like, picnic table written on their arm hot, too.
One of my, like, a tattoo that I really, 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 really want to get is something that was just like, I love soup, written in Chinese on my arm.
Pretty good.
So it looks like, outwardly, to people that don't read Chinese, that, I got, a Chinese character tattoo, whatever. It probably means, XYZ, valor or something.
Right, some cool, like, of your name or something like that.
Yeah, and then a Chinese person might see that and think, this person thought they were getting a tattoo that said valor and respect or something
All
on
I
it.
got is, I like soup.
Yeah.
But little do they know, you wanted I like soup. It'd be pretty good.
Exactly. I do really like soup. That's the thing. I want to express that, but I don't really know about like a bowl of soup. You could use alphabet soup as a tattoo, but
yeah.
I mean that's like I'm not in it for alphabet soup.
I feel like to complete it, you got to learn how to say I like soup in like the language that it is in Mandarin. So like people come up and try to clown you on it, you can just be like, oh no, you shou shei shi or whatever it is. And they're like, oh wait, what? And you're like, yeah, soup. It's good. Really throw them for a loop. That's the last punch, the last turn they're not expecting.
Exactly.
God damn it. There's one thing that I just can't get over and can't figure out is how to talk to people in my everyday life. Literally just like every time I'll go into work and just like say hi to somebody and I get through that interaction, I'm just like, fuck yeah, I did it. I said hi to somebody, I got through it, I made it, I'm just gonna keep going on. I did the thing that a human does. Yeah. I'm just so bad at social interaction.
I was real good at that before COVID.
You were good at it before COVID, then COVID killed you?
I feel like I'm getting good at it again.
I was never good at it. I feel like I will never get good at it.
It's just
one of those things.
You say, hey, what's up? Or you could, if you're trying to be more outgoing, you could have your own cool way to say, like, what's up?
Yeah, I gotta make up my own way. I take
just
one
like
from the Cowboys. I say howdy all the time.
Exactly. I say howdy too. It's a good one.
Yeah, it is. I like being a cowboy.
For a while there, I was saying greetings.
Greetings.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like a what's his last Schlednor from Big Bang Theory? What's his name?
Sheldon.
Sheldon. What's his last name though? Cooper. Yeah.
Schlingdor? You gotta at least expect that guy to have a regular name.
Well, I mean, that's always I know. I forget who was talking about Big Bang Theory in a video I saw, but they just kept referring to him as Schlednor. It's just it just was more fitting of a name every time I saw his face.
I remember that whole thing where they also would change the word bazinga into a bunch of different things. One of my favorites being Zimbabwe, because that's just a country.
Zimbabwe. Oh, that's great. Bazinga.
Biznaga.
Schlednor memes are great.
So, if I say the word extremophile to you, what do you think that is?
An extremophile. Well, see, that's a weird one because there's like, is it someone who loves extreme stuff, or is it someone who's like terrified of extreme stuff? With like, hate well, which way does that go?
Terrified of something is phobic.
Okay, but yeah, okay, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, I'm just mixing up words in my head. Because a lot of the same like files and phobics can have like the same beginning, so I guess I just kind of mixed those up.
Yeah, well, that's just like a Latin root thing,
right?
But
so anyway, extremophile. So is it someone who loves just extreme things, like especially like in a sexual way, like they like having sex while jumping out of an airplane? Is that the exact thing?
No, that isn't, but I wrote it. It isn't, but I wrote it here.
Bonus points if Jones thinks an extremophile is someone having sex while skydiving. Damn, you know me too well. It sounds exactly like what it is, though. So what is it then, if it's not that?
So,
damn.
An extremophile, one example of one is a tardigrade.
A tardigrade.
Does that get you any closer?
So that's that little guy that can survive indefinitely in space, right? A little tardigrade?
Yes, also known as a water bear. Also not indefinitely in space. but indefinitely in like a bunch of other conditions.
Oh, but can survive in space just like without a spacesuit though, right? Isn't that part of it? Okay.
It can survive in space for a certain amount of time. So the way they did that was, I was reading up on it beforehand. Mm-hmm. They like freeze dried them or something and put them in space. And the big thing about them being in space was they were going to take a lot of radiation from just being in space without an atmosphere.
Going through the belt and everything, yeah.
And they were able to bring them back, and they were still able to reproduce afterwards. A lot of them died after that.
Oh, jeez. So a lot of them probably had the super cancer.
Yeah, but they did survive for a little bit.
All right. So
also known as a water bear.
A tardigrade is an extremophile.
Yeah, extremophile is like some type of species or life form that can survive very extreme conditions.
Oh, okay. That's what I was going to guess.
Yeah.
after I sussed it out, a few questions. Interesting. So are there like other species on that list, or is the tardigrade like the first of it?
I don't know. I mainly was just looking into the tardigrade this time, and I remembered that name for it and thought I'd have a little fun with it.
I wonder if cockroaches can survive in space. Are they throwing them up there? They're the ones that like survive nukes and stuff, supposedly.
See, I don't even know if they do survive nukes.
Right, that's what people just always say. Like, it's cockroaches and Twinkies, but then, like, is that even real?
I think there's just a lot of them.
Right.
And it's fair enough chances that one of them would end up being somewhat shielded from the blast. And they're probably all pretty good with radiation. Maybe they couldn't, like, go right there to the center of the thing, but, like, in the surrounding area.
So here's my thing, right? The same thing like I was thinking with like bed bugs, but like where do cockroaches like live, right? Like there's the ones that like live in the jungle and they're like the big crazy ones, and then there's like the ones that come and infest houses. But like, is there just like the mother of cockroaches like in the earth somewhere where like all the cockroaches come from, or are they just like they're just out everywhere? Is there like one point to where all the cockroaches return to?
No, there isn't. At least I hope not.
Well, what about bed bugs then? Where do those just show up from? I know they can infest within things and like how they get into things, but like where do they show up before they get into things? Like where's they start?
That reminds me of a comic by someone by Beetle Moses.
I don't think I've heard of them.
It's like just a bunch of bed bugs sitting around in like the living room, like on the couch watching TV and stuff, and it's like 10,000 years ago, and one of them just bursts through the door like, guys, you never believe what they just invented.
See, it's like what, but like
probably fur.
They probably are like a certain type of bug that like exist elsewhere out in nature, but like also just happen to infest in beds. And when you find them in that condition, they probably like this is just me going off on a tangent now. At some point, like crickets, maybe they come a little bit different, so that's what makes them bed bugs. I don't know, like how crickets go to locust or whatever the hell.
No, that's pretty unique to them.
Is it? Oh, okay, I don't know.
Yeah, that's still crazy. That was like within our lifetimes that they figured that out.
They're the same exact creature, but they just like turn.
I mean, they might have known that for longer, but it was in our lifetimes that they figured out how to cause it to happen.
Oh, they can just like cause it? They can Incredible Hulk them? Like shoot them with the gamma rays?
It's a little bit less exciting than that.
Ow, that sucks.
You need to rub the ribs on the back of its leg at a very frequent interval, like 10 rubs every 40 seconds or something like that. And then for like half an hour.
And it makes it into the angry old locust that gets up and, ooh, I'm going to go eat your plants.
Which makes you think, what conditions would a cricket be in to cause that to happen?
Oh, maybe like sandstorms or something like that, if it's getting beat up a bunch?
Nope, it's just if a bunch of crickets are in a small area together.
Oh, interesting. So it's probably just like cricket like overpopulation that caused locust swarms?
It's not exactly just them being in an area like that together, but typically the conditions are associated with them not getting enough food, I believe. Like
do they cannibalize?
No, they all eat really sparsely and they turn into locusts, and locusts is a ravenous swarm that'll come and eat your entire field of crops.
Oh, I see. So it's sort of like almost like a survival instinct of them.
Yeah.
They go into Super Saiyan mode.
And I remember seeing something like their DNA literally changes when this happens. I know no details about that, and that could be completely wrong. But I definitely heard something at some point about that.
Bugs are some crazy shit. It's weird to think. Is it a real thing too? You might know about this. Of like back when like the atmosphere. I think when the atmosphere was more dense on Earth or something like that. When there's just like more carbon in it. That like plants were really bigger. The megafauna era, I think people call it. Were bugs gigantic also? Or is that just like some fairy tale shit?
The atmosphere had more oxygen in it.
Okay, yeah.
And that did cause giant bugs, yes.
Oh my god, that would be so fucking terrifying. Can you imagine a giant dragonfly? That 4-winged, like 6 foot long thing?
When we say giant,
yeah,
like it's definitely bigger than it was.
Right.
Like 1 foot.
Right. A dragonfly is already like this big, like a 1 foot dragonfly, like that big. It would still be like scary, but it wouldn't be like a monster be able to pick you up and take you away.
Mm-hmm. But
that'd still be scary as shit though. Bugs are already scary. I don't like them as small as they are.
I feel like if it's bigger, it's kind of less scary, right? It's because you know how like an elephant is afraid of mice. That's real. Because they don't want it to like crawl up on its trunk and stuff like that. And if it gets on its body, it really doesn't have a good way to get it off.
Right. That's fair. Yeah. It's kind of weird that it's like smart enough to know that like, ooh, that's gonna be a problem type shit.
Well, I mean, think about how we react to bugs.
Right.
Like, nobody told us to. It just starts feeling really weird and crawly and uncomfortable.
We get that thoughts racing of like, ooh, what if it gets up in my shirt or up in my nose? And, yeah, right away.
So,
did spiders also get giant then? Are they also count as bugs? Or are they like at a different kind of thing because they're arachnids?
So, bug is not an official
that's what I figured.
Thing.
So that's why I know insects maybe were a certain, but arachnids they're in the separate class. Did they also be big?
Probably, if they existed at that point.
Oh shit! Yeah. When did spiders show up? When did they need to be here? Why did spiders need to be here?
But yeah. So despite the fact that we need oxygen to live, we actually live in a nitrogen-rich atmosphere.
Yeah, isn't that
much more nitrogen than oxygen.
I remember learning that in I think it was chemistry class that the air we breathe is something like 90-something% nitrogen.
I thought it was
70-something%.
I think it's like 70-something.
Oh, I was gonna say it was either 97 or 70. Maybe it was 79.
Because you think about it, you gotta have room for oxygen and CO2 after that. Because plants need the CO2.
No, spiders were not a part of the megafauna, but there have been claims of giant spiders of the past, which were misidentified fossils.
Also,
sad.
Earlier you said, plants got really big, like megafauna.
Mm-hmm.
Fauna is actually a term that means pretty much anything but plants.
Oh, really?
You're thinking of flora.
Oh.
There's flora and fauna covers like animals, bugs, if it isn't a plant that photosynthesizes.
Yeah.
And I don't even really know if that's a technical term either, or just like I don't know. It feels like a mid-language thing where it doesn't like have a specific category like very clearly defined, but like you look at it and you're like, yeah, that's a flora. That's a fauna.
That's a flora. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Megafauna is literally, that's kind of cool. I literally thought megafauna was just referring to only the plants, but I was just completely the opposite.
I thought it was a type of fern.
the megafauna.
Yeah.
The megafern.
For a real long time. And then I learned this from someone like making a song that like included a bunch of plants or something like that. And they said fauna. And then the comment section was just filled with people being like, actually, fauna is not a plant. It is the definition of not a plant.
Anything but plants. That's wild. I don't know why. How did that misconception come about?
Fauna sounds like a plant.
Yeah. Is that really just it? And everybody else, like, on their own, without coming to a consensus about it, was just like, yeah, megafauna means plants?
Well, they heard someone else say it.
I guess.
They reinforced their thoughts on it.
That's wild. It's like the Marilyn Manson missing a rib thing. Like, how did we all just get on the same page? That guy definitely pulled the rib out so he could suck his own dick. Like, nobody talked about that. I didn't fucking talk with other people about that. There wasn't the internet back then.
You definitely did. How? Like, there's no other. Like,
I talked to people on the school ground, but I didn't talk like on my Club Penguin chats. I wasn't on AIM in that time, but like people back in that same era were like, yeah, no, I heard that on the playground. Like in California, we're talking about that.
Older brothers.
Were they on the internet? Oh yeah, okay, maybe. Yeah, maybe they passed it down.
Or magazines. Tabloids can go
Were the tabloids reporting on that?
They maybe, if they were very coy about how they worded it, like.
Yeah, there might be. There's definitely like
breaking.
A video essay.
There is a rumor that Marilyn Manson
might be sucking his own dick, and there might be some sort of medical procedure that went along with it. That's all we can tell you. Yeah, maybe we gotta look into the history of that. Maybe there's like one tabloid article that kind of mentioned it, and then that's what like blew it up.
Yeah. He was also like super duper skinny at the time, like where you could see his rib cage.
Right.
And he was like shirtless a lot of the time.
True that.
And a weirdo.
Yeah, he did talk about doing a lot of weird things, and also just did a lot of weird things.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think that's just sort of where that rumor came from. But the way that it sounded when you were like, I wasn't on the internet, I didn't read about this. I was thinking about how we were talking, you just sort of know when there's a bug on you, and like you have a natural reaction to like, feel weird and like hope it doesn't get on you and stuff like that. Similarly, thinking that Marilyn Manson had 2 ribs removed so he could suck his own dick is another evolutionary benefit of being a human. We were all born just sort of naturally understanding that.
Just naturally understanding that Marilyn Manson had that procedure.
Nobody has to tell you.
That's awesome. That's great. Babies, they have their fear of water, which, by the way, speaking of that, babies...
Opposite.
Don't they? Oh, they can learn to swim. That's right. It was the baby. They thought babies had the fear of snakes is like innate, but it turns out that's not a thing. They put babies with a bunch of snakes, or at least there's this one study that put babies with snakes, and they didn't give a shit. So it's kind of neat. It was like, oh, they thought this was the innate fear, like everybody's afraid of snakes. Like babies are probably going to be like, ooh, no, get them away. But they were just sitting there like, hello.
How do you get funding for this?
I don't know. I saw the video.
How do you get parents to consent to this?
Hey,
so everybody knows that babies are terrified by snakes. Snakes typically do bad things to babies. We're trying to dispel that myth. Will you please give us your baby?
So we could put, probably snake
we'll
parents.
Put it in snakes.
Probably snake parents, people who are snake people, and then they were like, oh yeah, we have kids, and my snake loves my kids. I don't know. I assume they were defanging snakes and all the different like perceived precautions were taken. But yeah, babies don't have the innate fear in them of snakes. They really didn't care. They looked at him, like kind of pet him, like looked at him weird, but one of the snakes were just not moving. They were like, yeah, whatever. They can chill over there. Huh. When they were moving, they were kind of interested in him, but weren't scared. It's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Babies are weird little creatures.
Yeah, so that means that snake fears are then acquired.
Right, which then makes a whole other question, like, why? Are they acquired by everybody? Are they acquired only by, like, very specific people? Because it was the thing...
they kill people. Like, there's plenty of venomous ones that
kill
so people.
It makes sense that, like, if you look up what snakes are and you learn about them, then, yeah, you would be afraid of snakes. But if you don't, then why are you, like... I've never looked into snakes a whole lot, other than, like, seeing them in movies and whatnot, and I'm still, like, kind of afraid of snakes.
Well... you've seen it in a movie, probably do something scary. Also, before the age of movies and all that stuff, you would probably have your parents, if you're in an area with snakes, consider the Wild West or whatever, they'd warn you about, rattling and stuff like that.
Right, snatch you away as soon as you see a snake.
In Boy Scouts, we learned how to tell from, like, the coloring on it whether or not the snake is poisonous.
No, isn't it yellow and black, you're dead Jack, red touches yellow, you're okay fellow, something like that?
I don't know, so if we run into a snake...
I thought you had the whole setup, like, I learned the colors. And
no, I forgot it. I quit at, like, a scout, like, class 1 or something like that.
I thought I was stepping on your line a little bit of, like, taking the color rhyme.
Nope. I know that there is a thing. I know that I did learn it at one point.
I think that's what it is. I think if it's red touches yellow, you're okay fellow. If red touches black, you're dead Jack. Or is it dead fellow and okay Jack? Now I don't fucking know.
What if it's yellow and black? It's definitely dead Jack and okay fellow. I'll say that sounds more familiar.
If red touches black, you're okay Jack. Okay, the rhyme. Red touches black, you're okay Jack. Red touches yellow, kill a fellow.
So I was completely wrong. Like I said, if we run into a snake, don't ask me.
It distinguishes between the venomous coral snake and the harmless lookalike snakes, particularly in North America.
Yeah. Hence Boy Scouts.
Right.
Because
that's the one you got to learn about. And the brown recluse spider, which I feel like I didn't learn about until I was way too old. Like, That's the most poisonous spider around here. Why do we not know about that?
It lives in like hay bales and sheds.
And the fucking Boy Scouts was always taking us to hay bales and sheds and shit. What are you talking about? They're probably everywhere. They're teaching us about black widows. Ooh, doesn't that look cool? Anyway, those live in like the jungle and shit. You're not ever going to see one of those.
Well, the brown recluse is like...
Oh, black widows live in the desert, actually. Sorry.
With a brown recluse, it's like really bad. Like your skin starts melting or something, right?
Yeah, you get like your veins start fucking melting or shit like that. You know, like everything starts going blue and black. Like you can lose a leg.
Is there anything you can really do about that?
You can get anti-venom.
I don't know. Like...
you gotta have... There's gotta be...
I mean, something that might save your life, but like that is a big mess. Maybe they just didn't tell us because like it's not going to change anything if it happens. You know, go to the hospital right away.
Yeah, no, I guess the only medications are just really strong antibiotics.
Mm-hmm.
You just gotta go get like hospital grade ones.
Antibiotics, though, that's interesting.
Antibiotics, antihistamines, and they say maybe even the tetanus vaccine.
Well, antibiotics are just crazy because I never heard of that for venom, but it makes sense, I guess. Especially because of what it does to you. Like, you're going to need antibiotics to make sure that doesn't end up becoming infected.
Right. Doesn't it, like, thicken your blood, or is that just that one snake venom thing?
We both saw the same snake venom thing,
yeah,
but I don't
like
really
they pour
think...
in the blood dish and it just becomes jello.
Yeah, that's scary. But I don't necessarily think snake venom and spider or arachnid venom will do the same thing. You know, they're pretty different species.
I wonder what's the difference in them. I'll have to look that up for next time. But this time, I feel okay calling this episode of Cold Hard Trash. Thank you for joining me, Bragg, and thank you all for listening. It has been a fun one. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with anybody who would enjoy podcasts, and share it with anybody else who wouldn't enjoy podcasts. Make them enjoy podcasts. Force them. This will convince them to enjoy podcasts, especially this end part where I'm like forcing them to do it. They're going to love this part. Make sure they listen to this.
That wouldn't have worked on me.
It'll work on some people. I promise. Peace.
Peace.